using the promo code BobbyFi. These guys are awesome. They've been on fire with the NFL. We've got baseball winding down. We've got basketball winding down, but we do have the NFL. Actually, baseball's not really winding down. There's a lot going on. Sheets. I had a nice little night last night, not in baseball, not in basketball. It sounds like you didn't quite have a nice night because of a little late swap that I may or may not have been a part of the discussion on.
I got a little greedy. So everybody knew I was like all over Atlanta yesterday, right? So Acuna right off the bat home run, and basically all my guys were smashing. I had Darno, just pretty much everything. And I'm like, all right, I'm just totally going to be locked in and I'm going to just win everything. But then, like, Freed just couldn't get out of his own way. So I'm like, okay. So now if I'm going to win, I'm going to have to do something a little bit funny, right? And then I looked and I saw that Springer was going off and I didn't have him. So I'm like, all right. So now I really have to do something funny. So with my 555, I had, or 444, I forget what it was. I had 2 slots left. I had Glasnow at pitcher and Arazani, whatever, the guy I said was the greatest player in baseball, right? So I had those 2 guys left. And I said, you know what? Let me try to just shake it up a little bit because everybody's going to have Glasnow. Let me move down to Garcia. And this way I can get up to like someone like Mookie or Cody Bellinger or somebody like that, just to maybe get like 2 home run upside and just be different and just take over. I mean, I neglected to remember that, you know, I had a lot of points anyway. You know what I mean? Like, not that I was going to win, but I was in a good position where I just had to just stick to what I was doing and get in there for like 5th and 6th or something like that. But you know what? I took a shot for the win. I went for Garcia and Mookie. And then I was going to wait and see, like, to see what the lineups were doing. I might have actually gone back from Mookie to Cody and go even less own and leave money on the table. And then next thing you knew, Garcia came out after the first inning. So that was the end of that. And in insult to injury, before he did that, he gave up a home run to Arizona, who I took out of the lineup. Okay, so it was, yeah. So as it turned out, the 555, it's not like I would have won if I kept it the way it is. So it cost me maybe, you know, 7th place or something for like 1,500. But I kept the other lineup with that same group together, the same, and that ended up doing okay in a triple, in a single entry. So I did lose, but you know, just got a little bit greedy. Let's just say that.
Well, that's certainly understandable. We've all definitely been there before.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting this slate today because I actually did well yesterday. I actually had a shot kind of going into late, even with the Freed as Valdez, because I had Springer. I had who else did I have going? Oh, I had Springer. I had the Yankees Dodgers mini stack. I had Stanton on the lineup, obviously.
Yeah.
So there were some things going, and that Dodger game. So. We'll get into it in a little bit, I guess, but I want to just say something. I think these stadium, like, I was shocked at how little the ball carried. I mean, AJ Pollock hits a ball early in the game, and literally looks like he's doing the strut-off home run.
Yeah, I saw that.
It just hangs up there. Max Muncy hits a double, and the gap literally would especially the stadiums, how hot they were yesterday, would have been out of anywhere else. There was Seager to the wall in center field. It just was over and over again, and it kind of worries me a little bit about using the Dodgers while they're there. I also think it kind of gives them a huge disadvantage in this series because you see what San Diego did. They basically ran every time they were on base against Smith. And I don't think that was just a product of Smith. I think they were trying to play a different game strategy because both these teams have monster power, and it seems to be somewhat negated by the stadium. Now, we don't know if it'll be open today, but that is something we have to consider.
You know, we don't really talk usually about like baseball per se or basketball per se when we're talking about DFS. But what's kind of cool about the playoffs, I suppose, is that I get a chance to see guys that I don't really sweat like during the year because I actually am watching the games a little bit. Like, for example, like the other day when I finally got a chance to watch Tatis play, and I like, oh, my God, what's the big deal about this dude? Next thing you know, he hits two home runs. I mean, maybe I was like a little biased. I was watching and rooting for him. But you know who's really good? This freaking Acuna is freaking insane. Like he, first of all, he hit a home run to start off the game, like real easy. Like it was nothing. And then, like it looked like Miami was going to just surprise him and roll him. And then he made the mistake of throwing at him or whatever they did, right? They hit Acuna right in the butt. and Acuna gave him a look, and he didn't fight, but whatever. It just got him all mad. Next thing you know, he's running. He basically ignored Washington, holding him up around third base. He's like, screw you, just coming flying in. And I'm like, you just don't want to get guys like that mad, And he's great, man.
After any chance?
What's that?
He tweeted after. He tweeted they have to hit me because they can't get me out. And then
really?
And then he tweeted, what was his other one? Oh, he said, he goes, I have to say, after my actions today, I apologize to absolutely no one for nothing. I just think this guy's a baller, man.
Yeah. But the best was seeing Ron Washington trying to hold him up. He's like, okay, yeah, you're funny. He just blasted right through.
No, that was pretty cool. But, this is another one of those things. This is a series where I expect people to run also, especially Acuna, Albies. And look, there's bad blood between these teams in general, or has been for years. And there's not going to be – I'm not going to say there's going to be a fight in the postseason. But don't be surprised if you see a little bit more aggressive running. I mean, also, these teams, especially on the Miami side, they need to do things to get creative. So, all right, let's start it off, Sheets. What are we doing with – so pitchers are tricky today.
I have 4 pitchers that I think are all not the same. They're all different. You know what I mean? I can't separate them with who I actually want to play. So, for me, the 2 kind of like guys with innings risk that are just cheap are Tanaka and Morton. And the 2 guys that that are probably the safest with respect to leash innings and whatever are Anderson and Kershaw, right? So that's where I'm kind of picking from, and maybe I'm just like scared because freaking what they did to me with Garcia yesterday. I'm kind of afraid to play Tanaka and have the same thing happen. But I don't know. I'm probably going to play some of all of them unless you can really talk me into a real solid combination that you really like.
So I think what I'm just basically going to do in my big lineups is I initially was going to play Anderson, Tanaka, Lopez, Tanaka, do something creative like that.
Okay.
Lopez, Morton or something, but I'm going to stack the Yankees as we know. So that's going to be hard. Kershaw. But, it was funny because last night that was almost for a minute going to be the strategy. I mean, Glaber twice with the bases loaded and then 2 on the other time. But, I mean, if the Yankee stack ended up coming through, you actually would have the ideal thing would have been Glasnow in the Yankee stack.
Yeah.
So that's really weird, but it's going to happen in these 4-game slates, especially with these high strikeout pitchers and high-powered teams. And by the way, Morton does fit the bill of that tonight. I want to just read something real quick about Morton. So versus this Yankee team, he's had a pretty good number of 146 plate appearances. Let's say about 130 of those or 120 something of those will be in the lineup tonight. He has 52 strikeouts. Like we're talking about basically almost a 38% K rate against this team, almost maybe even a little higher. They haven't hit him. They have a 139 combined averaged against him. I don't know if he's the same Charlie Morton. I don't know how long the leash will be. I'm not thinking it'll be crazy long. I certainly get the interest. I just don't think I'm going to go there, and it's mostly because I really like the Yankees. I don't care about I'm throwing all these away. When these guys are healthy, this lineup is going to be where I'm going to be putting. Even last night, I felt like they had plenty of other opportunities, and they weren't even hitting the ball. It's just we're going to see power from this team. And oddly enough, like in all these, the stadium, the way they break down, I think the San Diego Stadium today and the LA Stadium are probably the best hitters' parks or they're much better than the other 2. So I'm sort of siding with that with the Yankees bats. So I think that it's going to end up mostly being Kershaw and Anderson, and it's not fun, it's not exciting, but I'll get different with my bats. Obviously, I just announced the sort of contrarian stack-ish.
This is really, really bad form for the show, but there was one wine I forgot to make from yesterday.
What's that?
Okay, so in that 555 that I was so afraid of, that for not having Springer, it turns out that the freaking guy who won the tournament not only didn't have Springer, but he put in Matt Joyce, who didn't even start.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a really weird. That was early in the day.
Okay, that was it.
I actually don't know if that was on purpose or not.
Of course not.
I mean, there was a pretty good likelihood that if you're going to play, he was playing the stack on the other side, that they would switch it up and bring in a righty and have Joy. Because they almost only have righties in their bullpen. So it was really, really advanced thinking or a mistake.
No, it was a mistake. All right, you want to do you want to go position by position?
I'm going to be talking about hitters, not today, Sheets, but when we get down to less games, I will be talking about playing a lot of hitters that are not starting because there's too many rotations these days, and you're going to do it with Tampa Bay. People played players from Tampa Bay who weren't starting yesterday too. All right, so that's what we're doing pitchers. I mean, again, I think that Tanaka, Lopez, Morton, I have similarly. I even have like one lineup with Urquidy. But the truth is that my favorite stacks are Oakland and the Yankees, so it's going to be hard. Starting off with positions, I mean, I think there's going to be one pretty glaring, obvious play at catcher, right? Like, I mean, I just think it's going to be d'Arnaud, isn't it?
Yeah. d'Arnaud.
Will Smith, too.
And Will Smith's going to get in?
I think he'll pinch. I think he'll be the DH tonight. He's been too good a hitter. And the Barnes is going to catch. I'm almost positive. But
is Murphy not in?
Murphy's in.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. I mean, I figured that if you liked Oakland stacks, that you'd probably want to grab him. No.
Yeah, I like Murphy. I find that I can play d'Arnaud so much easier. And while there's a big ownership gap, I think that Will Smith might take away some. I think the Dodgers are going to be really popular today. And again, I'm a little worried about that situation. And it's interesting to me why they would be popular more so today. But anyway, whatever. I think d'Arnaud is my main guy. I like Sanchez as parts of those stacks, and I like Murphy. Those are the three guys I'll be using the most, sort of for going the other ones.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Don't look out for Zunino, by the way. You get pitchers around the plate a lot for a guy who strikes out and a pitcher who gives up power. So Zunino is probably a good sneaky play.
Yeah, I'm with that. I had him a little yesterday. It wasn't enough. First base?
First base. Well, for me, I mean, I like the Yankees, so Luke Voigt is obviously high on my list. My number one play is Matt Olson. You have Urquidy, who literally fits the mold of everything everybody tried to point out and stack Oakland this year against, which is basically a solid-ish pitcher with just mediocre control and almost no strikeout ability. It seems like a good spot for the Oakland Power. Again, playing in one of the better hitters' parks today. Now, Houston does have good, decent arms out of the bullpen and all that, but you have Matt Olson at 4.6, who's going to be low-ish owned, but then you've got like the free square and Pinder, and then you've got Davis, who will have some ownership. So, that's sort of where I'm at. Eric's got a question. He says, how much money is too much to leave on the table today? I think it's an interesting question because if you're playing a ton of lineups, I would say you could leave like 1,200. If you're not, I actually do think that there's some value in paying up for the better bats. So I don't think that you need to leave much more than that. And I'm probably not going to be leaving more than like 300 or 400 just because I like the expensive bats, which is partially why they're going to be lower owned too.
Eric, I'll tell you, I've been a real, I want to say proponent, but the way I've just been building my lineups just by their nature, I've been leaving a lot of money on the table in the last, couple of weeks, honestly, and it's worked out really, really well. With that said, today I'm not doing it. So I figured I'd answer it that way. I mean, for someone, again, I've been leaving 1,200, 1,300 like nothing, and just to get my stacks the way I want or whatever. Today I'm not, just the way I'm building and the way the guys I like. It's kind of maybe saying the same thing as Bobby's. That's just not where I'm going to end up today.
Yeah, so that was just it's a decision I struggled with a little bit because I have an Oakland stack, and I had 600 left over, and I had Murphy a catcher. Right? And to me, in my big lineup, and I just decided, you know what? I think I'll just go d'Arnaud. He's just a better play, and I'm going to have enough differentiation from my other hitters where I don't think that I need to worry about it. Even just the batting position. And by the way, I love Murphy in general. I think he might actually be the best power hitter of these guys at this moment. But also keep in mind that if we don't play, the one other advantage of not playing d'Arnaud is, maybe you can get a slightly lower owned Higashikawa because people will play d'Arnaud or the early, you know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe then it splits the ownership with Smith and I don't know. I actually don't know. It depends maybe how the Yankees lineup shakes out. But I'm just throwing things out there. It'll give you more options not to play the first game. So I still, having said all that, d'Arnaud is still my number one. Yeah,
I'm a little different than you at first base, though. The exact same way I was different yesterday. I like Choi at first at 3,100. I like Aguilar at 2,900. And for spend up, you like Void. I probably prefer Freeman. Not that he did me any favors yesterday, but that's just my preference.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, you're getting a lot less ownership on Voit. That's why I say. I mean, partly when I say my picks, it's not the guys who I'm saying are going to have the highest score. It's the guys who I'm playing.
No, you're right. I'm looking at this. You're right.
Yeah.
25% owned probably. Okay.
Yeah, and the one other thing is that there was one bad start, but for the most part, Pablo Lopez has been really good against Atlanta.
Okay.
So, and I actually think he's a good pitcher. But again, that Marlins bullpen, we see what happens. I mean, yesterday you get Alcantara's putting up, looking great. You get that bullpen right away. All of a sudden, the wheels come off, and it does make the Braves stack always a good one. The Braves are going to have a lot of ownership, so I'm sort of going other directions a little bit. And I really like the Olsen. I like your G-Man Choi call. I actually think he's going to be lower owned than he should be. So that's a good call in my opinion.
I like Olsen more on FanDuel.
Yeah, it makes more sense over there. But I think that on DraftKings, it's I actually like on FanDuel. I did some funny things with. I should just throw it out since we talked about positions, but I actually played some of him and Murphy and Pinder together, and then you just spend up at everywhere else, other spot. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool.
But you play him and Murphy, and you use one of them in the utility spot. You hope for obviously both to hit home runs, and which I think is very possible. So, all right, let's get over to second base. Who are we looking at?
So what's that?
Altuve is going to be like literally 50% owned here.
Right. So Altuve again, but then is Birdie's playing again? I mean, like 2 cents, right? Yeah,
but Chad Pinder is less than. Actually, so I'm sorry. Altuve will not be 50% owned because Chad Pinder is going to be 1,000,000% owned.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. You think Pinder's that much better of a play than John Birdie?
By 500,000 times, especially because the pitcher for Atlanta is your basic. I think the best pitcher on the slate is probably Anderson, given the situation.
Right.
So it's kind of hard. So yeah, I guess you're going to get lower ownership on Birdie because of it. But yeah, Birdie doesn't do anything. Like he's not like he's a decent real life hitter, but like he has no power. Chad Pinder has tons of power.
Okay.
And I like Oakland better. So again, Birdie makes he's fine. You know, I just like Oakland better.
So I'll tell you what I like at second base, and yeah, Altuve is going to be like the huge chalk. I like one guy who's going to be kind of high owned. I think high owned on the medium owned side, Brandon Lau at second base. But if you didn't want to do that, I actually was into a couple of other guys. I didn't really want to play Altuve chalk today, and I wanted to kind of get away from Pinder if I could. So I think from the same game, you could play La Stella at 4,700 and maybe get him a little lower owned. And then also from the Braves game, you could again like maybe get. Nobody ever plays out Ozzie Albies for some reason.
I love Ozzie Albies. I love that. Totally true. It makes no sense.
Okay.
But I also want to point out, John Diaz says he missed on the Atlanta stack again. I'm going to reiterate something. Atlanta was a bad stack yesterday. That was not a good job stacking. That was a team that was being completely shut down outside of one swing until they brought depth to their bullpen. That was not a good stack. When you get all your runs in one inning off of a weird bullpen situation, I'm not going to say that was a great stack yesterday. So, and by the way, the only way the Atlanta stack won anybody any money is if you faded Freeman, which almost nobody who played the Atlanta stack did, because the guy who won everything, he did a double stack with Miami. That's how he ended up winning. Actually, Atlanta was not like in hindsight at the time it was a fine stack. In hindsight, actually, I didn't think it was a fine stack, but in hindsight, it really wasn't based on Alcantara was dominating them. It wasn't like they were crushing this guy all over the yard by any means at all. It was one early home run and then he shut him down completely. I think he retired 9 guys in a row until they left him in a little too long, partially because of that terrible bullpen. But I guess that is part of the thing. I just don't think we should think about it like it was a bad stack Atlanta. I didn't look at yesterday going, I mean, to be honest, I thought Houston could have scored about 10 more runs than they did. I thought they were probably the best stack in hindsight.
And I would say this for someone like me who I just stacked the shit out of Atlanta. And thankfully it kind of worked out a little bit for me. After Acuna hit the home run, I'm like, oh my God, this is just so easy. There was 4 innings in a row where I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Yeah. I mean, Alcantara just started to mow them down, and I'm like, this is really bad. And again, as I mentioned, after he hit Acuna, it's kind of changed everything. Then he kind of lost it a little bit, and then the bullpen came in, and then the Darno thing. So
he retired after hitting Acuna. I think he retired the next 7 batters or 8 batters in a row after Acuna. I think he did. Or no, we give up one hit, then he get retired the next 8 in a row because he got pulled later. Why they left him in to pitch the 7th inning after also hitting his pitch limit, after getting the first runner on, they still left him up for another one. It was just, I think it was a bad management, but partially a bad management due to a bad bullpen.
All right, you don't like, I can't sell you on LaStella at all?
I like LaStella a lot. I like him better on FanDuel. I mean, okay. I like Oakland. So, but my guys are LeMahieu, Albies, and Pinder. I don't really need to go too far away from them. If I did, I just see so many good options at second base. I don't think we need to play Jose Altuve, even though he's in a good spot. And Oakland, obviously, Houston's going to be the chalk or one of the chalks.
So third base is on sale. Apparently, they decided to lower Bregman's price to $4,100. And
isn't where Bregman should be priced.
No.
I mean, this guy literally was one of the lowest fantasy producers. Of all the guys, I think he would be 8th on this slate of all the third basemen in terms of production this year.
They decided to lower Austin Riley to $2,900.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, those are the two values. But for me, I'll go back to what's his face at he's going to be chalky today. I was going to go back to Justin Turner again. But what about boy, this is like really going to be ugly. But if you could somehow catch like a Tatis Machado 2-man and you get a kind of Kershaw like coming back to earth a little bit, you can get Machado at low ownership. Maybe that's not the worst idea in the world.
No, nothing wrong with that. Again, you can play LeMahieu here. I think you're going to see LeMahieu and Pinder together in my lineups. It obviously doesn't matter who's at which position. Bregman is going to be just so popular. So you can
have him. I mean,
and I think he's a really good play. But I'm gonna go with the super low owned Gio Urshela.
Ooh, there it is.
With my Yankees tax. And I actually that's forgoing money and playing him. Like, I mean, I'm actually giving up money to do this, and it's it feels bizarre to play Urshela straight up over Bregman. This may cost me all the money. I'm taking a little bit of a fade stance on a small slate on most of the Houston bats, just because I need to take a stance. I feel like, and I don't want to play 40% owned hitters when there's plenty of good options. And again, we have LaStella here. We have Max Muncy, who I didn't mention at first base, but I should have mentioned Muncy and Bellinger. Even with the stadium being a downgrade, like I still think that they have enough power where it's okay. You can still play these guys. But I sort of am with you, Riley, in your Brave stacks. Pinder, I'm sorry, I'm with you with Riley, but Pinder and LaStella, LeMahieu, those are going to be my main guys with a little bit of Bregman and with Urshela and Bregman. We got another question. No love for Lopez from Johnson, Eric Johnson. I did talk about Pablo Lopez, saying that I liked him, and initially he was the first guy I had in my build. I think you're still like reaching a little bit, man. Like, I understand that you want the Marlins to win the World Series, but I don't think just stacking them every single day is like the optimum route. And go ahead and stack. You can stack them today. I mean, that's a fine spot. Like Ian Anderson, he could blow up or whatever. Like it's a young guy, but I just don't think that I want to overload. Don't take your overwhelming overlove for the fact that you made a season-long bet for them to win it all to necessarily affect your DFS play too much. Is all I'm trying to say. But I do like Lopez fine. The more I look at it, like you said, we can leave money on the table. Do we think Lopez outscores Kershaw and Anderson that often here? Maybe he does 15% of the time, 20, maybe a little higher, 20%. So what are we really getting? We're just basically getting an ownership discount because we don't need that savings because we have the Pinders out there, because we have Chris Davis, guys I like who are just too cheap.
Eric, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. So we'll go to the outfield, and I'll start with the outfield, and I'll let you press your season long bet, and you don't even have to play Pablo Lopez. Okay, so what you can do is Ian Anderson can be really, really popular. You could play all the Corey Dickerson if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could play him at 2,900. You could play whatchamacallit, who I said earlier, Aguiar. You could play Matt Joyce at 2,200. Right? Is he in? Right?
Yeah.
You could play him. You could play well, Birdie's really cheap. I know Bobby doesn't like his power. He doesn't have any power, whatever. But if you want to press your Miami and root without having to play Pablo Lopez, you're getting instant leverage against Ian Anderson, who's awesome. But, he's like any other young pitcher. I mean, he could have control issues, and you never know what can happen. So I'll let you press your Miami stuff. And you can
but I'm not talking. But he's talking about 5-man stacks. I'm just saying I think that would be a mistake on this slate personally. I think if you're playing, I think absolutely Dickerson or Aguirre. And by the way, these are not going to be low-owned guys. These are absolutely. You're not talking about. You're not like you're getting low-owned Miami guys. These are going to have double-digit ownership guys. They're not. They're when you have a double-digit ownership guys, you're stacking the lowest total on the slate on a team with no power in a terrible power hitters park. It doesn't feel great to me. But if you're going to play one or two of them, I certainly don't blame you. That's my take. I mean, I'm not going to be like the RG guys and just say I love everybody. All these stacks make sense. Oh, this. I think you're not giving any real advice. So my advice is not to fully stack the Marlins, but definitely play them as 1 and 2 offs. That's my attitude.
So that's my top play at outfield is Corey Dickerson.
Yeah,
with everything else considered. Then
we didn't talk about shortstops.
We didn't get shortstop. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. So we'll go to shortstop and then we'll come back. We'll come back to the outfield.
Yeah.
So shortstop, I like 3 guys at the totally opposite end of the spectrum. Well, not even opposite. So once again on FanDuel, Simeon's basically free. On FanDuel, I'm probably not going to fade it. On DraftKings, I will. So on DraftKings, I'm kind of into the West Coast. I'm into Tatis and I'm into Seager and paying up for both of those. For whatever reason, I don't know. Simeon's is like a fine play, whatever. But I'm kind of into paying up here and doing either Tatis or Seager.
Yeah, you're gonna have all the chalk on Simeon, Seager, and Correa, I would guess. I'm gonna be I think Tatis it's ridiculous at this price, and Kershaw's great, but let's not get perception confused with who these guys are. Like Tatis at 4.7 is kind of silly. I imagine that his ownership will be higher than I guess. I'm gonna go with my guy again, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Let's just play Gleyber Torres at no ownership. I mean, is Marcus Semien 10 times better of a play than Gleyber Torres? At a more expensive price? I mean, are any of these guys that to Gleyber Torres today? Especially a guy who's not whatever the postseason that means. He's been awesome in the postseason throughout his young career. So Gleyber Torres and Dansby Swanson both stand out to me as being the obvious pivots off of the mega chalk, along with the Tatis we mentioned. So I'll just side with the lower owned on these 4-game slates. And anytime you can get these 5% or less guys on these 4-game slates, I think we just got to go with it, especially because the talent gap is so minuscule. But Correa also, if you're gonna make the Houston stacks, I actually think he ends up being the lower owned of the big 4, I guess you'd call it, between Bregman, Springer, and him. So, but he's again, I do really like this Gleyber. I'm just gonna keep playing these Yankees, and again, I still feel like I was really close with the Yankee stack last night. And obviously, I still won. I mean, I won money on every lineup that I stacked the Yankees, basically, because I had Stanton in every one of them, so I wasn't going to lose. But I think that they're in a great it's who knows what to get from Morton. He's dominated them in the past. He's not the same Charlie Morton, in my opinion. And I'm just going to play this much power every single day. So going to the outfield sheets, that's going to lead us in very easily to me. I actually think that Aaron Hicks, regardless of whether you're playing Yankees or not, is just a great play at 3.5. Him and Chris Davis would be 2 of my favorites in that range. And then Stanton, Judge would be my top guys. I have no problem with Acuna or Betts and Springer, but Springer is going to be 1,000,000% owned. I'm just telling you right now, Houston's going to be 1,000,000% owned. And even if Luzardo struggles, well, yes, you will get another lefty and Hendricks probably coming out of the bullpen. Just remember, these guys have a freaking good bullpen. Oakland, and Houston is not going to – I just don't see them lighting them up as much as the ownership is telling everyone they will. So I'm just going completely off of Houston for the most part. There might be 1 or 2 guys who sneak into my lineups, but not my main ones, I don't think.
So Reddick is 2K. That's who you talked about?
Reddick's not playing.
Oh, he's not in?
No.
That's right. He's not in. So I'm just going to go
2K and Davis is 3.4. those are my favorite the values from Oakland.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the other to the MVP. I'm going to go back to Arizarena at 3,600. I mean, the guy's freaking just swinging the crap out of the ball. I don't think I'm going to do Acuna today at 5,400. Not exactly sure why, but I just don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to pay up in other spots. I like Dickerson, like I said, Arizona.
I like the Arizona thing because he's actually going to be lower owned today.
You're and just part of your Yankee stack. I mean, that Aaron Hicks at 3,500. I don't know if you mentioned that, but
I did. He was the first guy.
Yeah. So I think all those guys are good. I mean, it's so funny. Like this range, this 3,500 range, is pretty loaded when you think about it, right? It's got Arizona, it's got Hicks, Brantley, Tucker's good too. I mean, like all these guys are not bad.
If I didn't have my little Oakland stack, I would probably just say play those guys over Chris Davis, just because of the ownership discount. Even though Chris Davis does go through these stretches where you just kind of need him because he's going to hit one out every day and maybe two out. But I mean, you got Brantley at 35. It's just loaded right in that range. We're just going to make Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge just completely unowned again.
Right.
And, let's fire up, a few Oakland guys and four Yankees or 5 Yankees, and let's have that. That's my plan for the day.
So you said something that was very surprising to me. You said to me, I wasn't expecting this. You think that the Dodgers are going to be owned today, huh?
Not like crazy, but like they're showing up. I mean, their run projection actually has it been updated? Oh, did they change it? Maybe I have the old run projection up. I have them at, let's see. Yeah, I have like Betts in the 20s. I have Seager around 25 to 30. Turner almost 20. Muncy around 20.
Okay.
Will Smith around 35, which just can't be right, I don't think. Maybe it could. There's a lot of money to spend, and people are going to spend on catcher. Bellinger at 25. Pollock will be unowned. Taylor will be probably 10%, and then Barnes will be unowned.
Hey, do you like I asked because of this initial lineup I put in like late last night. Do you like Meadows at all?
Are you really? Yeah, I actually do like Meadows, but I can't play him with these other guys. Like, I mean, you're telling me right now he's projected to have 3 times the ownership of Giancarlo Stanton.
Is that really happening?
and he's the same price. Like, I don't understand this. It's just people are looking too much at something, and it's not the right things. And I'm not buying Giancarlo Stanton at 5%. I wasn't buying it yesterday at 3%. He ended up at 11 in the high buy-ins and like 8 in the smaller buy-ins or whatever it was. Some of the smaller buy-ins he was like more like 14.
Is Pollock's like a regular now? He's playing every game?
Yeah, he's the only thing is you can occasionally, get later, defensive substitutions or you can even see a righty-lefty thing. Even though he can hit righties fine, it's more just late game stuff. But again, like, how do you play him when he's projected to have the same ownership as Giancarlo Stanton?
Right.
I just don't get it. Like, it just overall, I can't wrap my brain around that. And by the way, there's another guy we didn't mention who, if we're going to play a cheap guy in the outfield, you might want to consider. Tommy Pham has an awesome history against hitting good lefties, like good lefties.
Oh, is that right?
He's 3.2K. I still think that their strategy, I'm not sure they're going to run on Kershaw. It's a little harder to run on him than it was yesterday against Buehler and and Smith. But I'm open to the fact, I mean, they did run, they stole a base every time they were on. Every single guy was stealing bases. So, or they tried to. So I would think that might be possible again. Tommy Pham might go out there and steal another base. It's possible. I'm just throwing it out there, and it's 3.2K.
No, you know what's cool is I'm going to have the same opportunities to screw around depending on what happens in Miami and Oakland. If like for whatever reason, let's just say that I was getting to Dodger stacks, right? And I needed some more juice. I mean, you could play Yankee. I mean, again, you like Yankee stacks anyway. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? That you could easily pivot to lower owned Yankees from higher owned Dodgers with plenty of time. Like if you don't like the way the Miami game is going, or the Oakland Houston game is going.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. There's so many different types of pivots you can make today that make a lot of sense. So
your favorite stack is the Yankees?
I just think like when we're going to get these ownerships on them, I'm just never going to say no, man. I can't do it. It feels like bad play.
And Oakland, right?
And I like Oakland a lot. Yeah, so I'm mixing up those two, and then I am playing, little Dodger plays here and there, but I'm not like loaded with it absolutely everywhere.
I'll tell you, man, that really scared me last night. The thing that you mentioned, the way that freaking, and it makes me feel like such an idiot for playing anybody from Texas or in Texas like the whole season. To see like the ball hold up like that was crazy. Even like the last, remember I said, I could still do something if Mookie hits a home run. And then he gets up in the bottom of the 8th, and he hit it. And he did the same thing. He dropped his bat, stared at the ball. Next thing you know, it barely made the warning track.
Yeah, it's so bizarre, man. So that's the issue with playing the Dodgers, obviously. Again, getting one or two, but look, these guys have power. They can still hit it out. And again, we keep an eye out because they might open up the stadium. We don't know yet. You know what I mean? We really don't have that information.
Hey, you're a Dodger guy. When's the last time Cody Bellinger hit anything?
He's been struggling, man. I'll tell you that right now. So is Max Muncy, but actually had some decent at bats last night. Very impressed with the Dodgers in general. When they were not hitting, they were being no hits, I think, through 4 or 5 innings, but they had like 8 walks.
Right.
Right. They're just like one of those teams where, and if you make a mistake over the plate at one point, they're going to make you pay it. I thought they did about 3 or 4 other. We talked about it about 3 or 4 times that they didn't get credit for. All right, guys, get any QQs in if there is any, and we'll answer those before we get out of here. Sheets, you want to take a sort of a I guess you know what? I guess your boy. You're probably going to take your boy, but just give us a home run, a sort of a low-owned home run call, and it could be anybody.
So both those guys. So I'll give you the 2 guys I mentioned, the Arizonina and Dickerson.
All right, I'm going to go Matt Olson and Aaron Judge.
And I will tell you this,
but Aaron Judge is going to be.
I am not betting $1 with my 2 against those 2. That is
no, it's unfair. Of course, I took the huge price. But it's funny because these guys are. I'm just more saying it for ownership's sake. They're not going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any worry on Kershaw tonight? Of course I'm worried. How can't he pitch well in the playoffs? That's a completely false thing.
That doesn't exist. That's a disaster.
He has the best record and the best numbers in the history of closeout games of any pitcher in postseason history. He's had 4 bad starts, 5 bad. There's a whole article about 5 pitches changed his whole perception and career. And it's literally the 5 home runs he gave up in a period of 9 different years. It's a shame. I hate narratives like that and don't buy it. By the way, we could say he didn't pitch in the playoffs. He just was absolutely dominant and had one of the best games he's had in years. He hasn't had the best game of anybody in the playoffs the other day.
Yeah.
The other day, his last start. So let's not say he can't pitch in the playoffs. That's ridiculous. I think he might, John. I think it's a good question. I think if I'm the Yankees and I see the Tampa Bay starting to run on me, especially with how bad Sanchez looks at the plate and how good Higashikawa looks, I think this is going to be potentially the Higgy show, not the what's it called show. But if I was the Yankees manager, that's what I would do if I was Boone. I thought he outcoached himself. He outthought himself a little bit last night. But in general, I think I like Boone quite a bit. I think he's it's weird is like as a Dodger fan, and a lot of my family are Yankee fans for some reason, but I end up pulling for the Yankees a lot, and I really like this team. So it's not playing into my bias. My bias is the fact that I'm watching a team that hit home runs like no team ever put together in history. We've never seen it because they haven't been healthy, and now they're finally kind of healthy. So I'm just going to bet that they're going to hit multiple home runs every night for the most part. Maybe there'll be nights like last night where one guy will hit 2 of them, and that's what will happen. But if they're going to if they're going to hit what I think on average 3 or 4 home runs a game, you've got to be stacking them. They also are patient. They walk. There's a lot of other things they can do too. So.
You know what I really thought what the Yankees were going to do, and once they, I don't know, man. Like when I watch the playoffs, I see like all these teams bring in all these relievers I've never heard of that are just awesome, right? They just get all these guys out like every inning, And then I see the Yankees, they're bringing in freaking J.A. Happ, and he's terrible. I can't imagine J.A. Happ ever coming into a game. So when they brought him in, I'm like, again, I saw them warming somebody up in the first inning. I'm like, all right, I'm dead, right? And I didn't know who it was. I figured it was one of those like sneaky Yankee guys that just kind of have hidden away, you know what I mean, that comes in for like an inning and a half and never gives up anything. But J.A. Happ, honestly, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But maybe, like you said, maybe the Yankees just slug their way into some wins,
I think, yeah. I think that's what's going to happen tonight. So let's go Yankees, and let's take the over in that game. By the way, I'm not buying that.
What is it, like 9.5?
I think it's 9. I'm like, give me 10 plus for these. Anytime these Yankees are in a game, I'm just gonna, unless their run total is 6, and even then, I'm going to think about it. I expect them to score 6 or more every day.
You're supposed to say, right, when they say the Yankees, what's the total in the Yankees game? They say 9. You say, oh, what is it for the other team?
Yeah, that's right. All right, man. Hey, Sheets, great job. Guys, we'll be back for you tomorrow. We're going to have some football coming up for the weekend. We're going to have some baseball. We've got basketball, at least one more game on Friday before my Lakers close it out. And I just want to say, I guess I'll end on this one note. It's kind of a little bit of a downing note, but I'm happy the Lakers are going to win the title. I'm rooting for the Lakers to win the title. It is not an enjoyable experience to watch constant whining on every play, yelling at your teammates, staring down people when you miss rotations. And LeBron has been spectacular. But, like, come on, man. Show a little class. You're going to win this series anyway. Stop with the whining. Stop looking everybody down. You're not motivating people. You're not helping when you do that. It's just that weird finger pointing that always drives me crazy. And we love you, Bron. Just ease it up a little bit and let's take care of business in Game 5. Actually, you know what? Or not, because I would love to watch more basketball. That was a really fun game last night, and we didn't even talk about it. Anyway. All right, guys. For Sheets, for everyone at BetQL, I'm BobbyFi saying we will see you at the top of the leaderboards.